most anticipated events of the year. Tens of thousands of revelers from around the world have once again gathered in the desert of northern Nevada for what is by far the largest and loudest rave in the world, Burning Man. The week-long festival, which ended on Monday, has been taking place annually since 1986 and is famous for the burning of a giant wooden effigy on its final night. Beyond the costumes, music, and free spirits running wild, Burning Man is first described as a place for art, with countless creative projects put together throughout the 7 days. This year's festival did not just attract fans, however. Swarms of insects and stink bugs also decided to join the party in Black Rock Desert. Does nothing ever stop Burning Man enthusiasts from attending? Our focus this week is on Nevada.
Welcome to our Focus on Nevada. I'm Tal Heinrich. Let's get going with the annual Burning Man festivities that started this week in Black Rock Desert in northern Nevada. The event is officially described as an experiment in community, art, radical self-expression, and self-reliance, but among the tens of thousands of people who attended every year, very few can actually describe the atmosphere there in words. Luckily for us, we have one who can, and his name is Fraser Mech, and he's now joining us, a very devoted fan of this festival. Hello.
Awesome, thanks for having me.
What makes the Burning Man Festival so special and different from other festivals that celebrate freedom?
To me, there aren't any other festivals like it that celebrate freedom. Like at Burning Man, you can be whoever you want to be. I think it's a place for people to really just let go of all like judgment that happens on them in, I guess, the real world, which is funny because I think Burning Man there's real world at Burning Man too. But yeah, there's nothing like it. People don't judge each other there, and I think there's just like a real sense of community.
And people who once experienced this festival tend to say that after a few days at the festival, you look at certain things in a different perspective, like nudity, for example.
That's definitely true. I mean, when I got there and I saw naked people around, I was like, oh my God, a naked person. And that only lasted about 3 hours, and so like the rest of the 8 days or whatever that you were there, you see a naked person, you don't even think twice about it. Like I remember daring a guy on the very first day that we were walking through the playa, and I was like, I dare you to get naked right now, and he was like, okay, and I was like, oh my God, that's the craziest thing ever. But after being there for I think 24 hours, it's like you don't even think about it anymore. And like I think this year I'll probably get naked at some point, so I'm not even stressed about it.
All right. Can you maybe tell us how this festival first started and developed into a certain tradition?
I know it was started by a guy named Larry Harvey in San Francisco. He built like this big man structure and gathered, I think like it was like 25 friends or something, and they went down to the beach and burned this man at the end of, I guess, like a night of hanging out. And it just has exponentially gotten bigger and bigger, and now I think we're at close to like 70,000 people.
So what is the significance of burning this effigy?
I don't think that's a question where there's one specific answer. I mean, to me, last year the man signified like me shedding, I guess, my old skin, and I came back a completely different person. But I think that's totally like, it's a personal question, and it can mean so many things to so many different people.
Fraser Mech, thank you so much for this interview. We appreciate your free spirit. Let it go.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot for having me. That was fun.
Snap, spontaneous, and rebellious weddings are one of the prime features of Las Vegas, of course. But in recent years, the number of I do's in the city of sin seems to have fallen. At its peak, Las Vegas was home to 1 out of every 20 weddings across the U.S., and our next guest was probably in charge of some of these, Ron Dekar. He's the co-owner of Viva Las Vegas Wedding Chapels. Hello, Ron. Thank you for being with us.
Hi, Tal. How are you today?
I'm great. So, unmarried yet. The numbers of marriage licenses issued in Vegas has plummeted from 127,000 in 2004 to just 80,000 last year. How can this be explained?
The business for us relatively stays the same. We do about 4,500 to 5,000 weddings a year, anywhere between like 400 to 500 a month. our clientele here at Viva Las Vegas Wedding Chapel, probably 50% of the business that we do is renewal of vows. So with that percentage, we automatically still kind of maintain the same level of weddings that we've been doing, because the people that come to us are couples that are celebrating a 10 or 15 or 20 or 50-year renewal. So they're not necessarily going down to get a marriage license.
So tell us a bit about the latest trends in the Vegas wedding business. What kind of wedding themes are you offering there?
Elvis is the mainstay as far as the couples that pick a theme. First off would be an Elvis theme, whether it be a basic package where Elvis sings 1 or 2 songs, and then the top of the line here at the chapel is the Elvis Pink Cadillac, where Elvis actually drives you down the aisle here in the chapel in a pink Cadillac convertible with lasers, lights, and fog. It's like a show, and the couple's a part of it. That's the most popular. Other popular themes are Camelot, rock and roll, Egyptian. Gothic is a strong second, believe it or not. Here at the chapel, there's a lot of people that like to get married in a Gothic setting with tombstones and either Dracula or the Grim Reaper presiding over their ceremony. If we have a customer request by the couple, we try to provide them with the character to preside over the ceremony and get sets and props to accommodate the theme.
Ron, can you maybe recall and share with us one interesting or funny story of one of the couples who got married in your wedding chapels?
I've had weddings where I've had to marry Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, and people bring mascots with them. They bring Flat Stanley, or people have brought an alligator, a stuffed alligator, not a real one, but a stuffed alligator for a mascot. It just kind of depends on whatever the couple wants to do.
All right, Ron Dekar, thank you so much for this interview. Maybe one day I'll stop by. Who knows?
No worries. We'd be glad to have you.
Perfect. And now what else is going on in Nevada?
The state of Nevada negotiated an option to buy up to 2.5 million rounds of ammunition for state agencies over the next 2 years. According to documents and interviews with the Nevada Purchasing Division, officials described the deal as routine, a way to secure cheap rounds for highway patrol, parole and probation, emergency management, wildlife, and other state departments. Las Vegas' first legal medical marijuana dispensary has opened after months of delays. Euphoria Wellness got final state and county approvals. The news, a relief for patients and advocates, came more than 2 years after the Nevada legislature voted to allow marijuana dispensaries. A dispensary in northern Nevada, Silver State Relief in Sparks, beat Euphoria to the punch. It became the first legal dispensary in the state on July 31st. A California man pleaded guilty in federal court to charges of illegally selling the horns of the endangered black rhinoceros in Las Vegas. 2 men were arrested in March 2014 following an undercover investigation by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The black rhinoceros has been threatened by demand for its prized horns and is listed under the Endangered Species Act. Celine Dion returned to Caesar's Palace with a new show after a year's hiatus. The Canadian singer took time off to take care of her sick husband. No headliner in Las Vegas history has had as much impact as Dion on the entertainment capital of the world. Since her arrival in March 2003, Dion has performed 913 shows in a 4,200-seat Coliseum at Caesars. The Nevada Humane Society held its 6th annual duck race in Reno. 30,000 rubber ducks raced along the Truckee River to raise $20,000 for homeless pets. Community members paid $5 to join in on the duck races. Leaders won prizes, but the biggest winners were the homeless cats and dogs in Nevada.
Modern Las Vegas, the hotels, casinos, shows, and of course the Strip all started when Jewish gangster Bugsy Siegel, with help from friend and fellow mob boss Meyer Lansky, built the Flamingo Hotel in 1946. And if you thought that Vegas hotels are the main attraction there, wait till you hear the stories behind them. And for that reason, we are joined by Mr. Robert George Allen, producer and mob historian of the Vegas Mob Tour. Thank you, sir, for being with us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So many people are familiar with names such as Bugsy Siegel, Meyer Lansky, but not with the story of how they came up with this Vegas idea. Did they really dream so big?
All right, well, actually, Bugsy Siegel is credited with inventing Las Vegas, but he really didn't. He took credit for it. Vegas was already here, only it was downtown Las Vegas, and Bugsy was running a wire service out of Los Angeles. And he used to come to Vegas on weekends to kind of party and hang out. And he invested in a place downtown called the El Cortez. While he was an investor in that place, he heard about a guy building a casino out on the highway. So he went out there one afternoon, talked to the guy, and said, "What are you doing?" And he says, "Well, I'm going to build this big fancy casino." And he says, "But you're way out of town, like 5 miles out in the middle of nowhere." And he said, "Well, I'm going to try to attract the Hollywood crowd." So Bugsy said, "I'd like to be your partner." They became partners. After 4 or 5 months, Bugsy muscled him out and took over the place. He had a girlfriend named Virginia Hill, and Virginia had very fair skin and had red hair, and she'd go out into the desert sun and get very pink. So he used to say, "You look like a flamingo."
Oh.
And so one day he said, "That's what I'll call the place, the
Nice.
Flamingo." And that's how it got its name. It's not exotic. It was named after his girlfriend's skin tone.
And when people walk through the main street in Vegas, the Strip, they see all these wonderful sights. What overlooked sights do you expose them to?
There's several places in town. One is an old Italian restaurant, which is not a casino, but it's where they all used to hang out. It was called the Bootlegger, which today is called Angelina's Pizzeria. So that was a big hangout. There was a place called Jubilation, and a lot of them hung out there. That was in the one of the hotels that was not a casino. A lot of the mob guys did not hang out in the casinos. They would go to these nightclubs, restaurants, off-strip, because they really didn't want the FBI or the police watching them and checking up what they were doing.
And can you maybe tell us about some major mafia sin that took place in the city of Sin?
In 1981, there was a gentleman named Tony Spilatro and another gentleman named Frank Collada. They had something called a hole-in-the-wall gang, and they decided to start robbing houses by cutting holes in the walls. And in 1981, they decided to rob a $1 million jewelry store here. However, somebody tipped off the FBI, and they were on the roofs all around the building waiting for them to break in. And when they did, they arrested them all. And that particular robbery started the downfall of the mob in Vegas, because through that robbery, they found out that they were skimming money off the casino profits and not paying income tax. And that brought in the federal government and the FBI, and the rest is history. The FBI made them give up their casinos, and then the corporations came in and bought all these places and tore them down and built these humongous hotels that we have today.
Very interesting info. Thank you so much for this interview.
Thank you. Love to have you out here. It's a wonderful tour. It runs about 3 hours, and you'll learn a lot about mob history.
Almost every little boy has this dream of driving a tractor, right? But what happens when you grow up and one day realize that you never actually achieved this dream? An innovative Vegas attraction allows grown men and women to drive bulldozers in a heavy equipment playground. And joining us now from the make-believe construction site is Walt Logan from Dig This Attraction. Hello, welcome.
Well, thank you. We're pleased to be here.
So tell us, what can visitors actually do around your site? Are they really building something or just playing around?
No, this site is dedicated to people coming to Las Vegas that want to have a great time while they're here. That's what Dig This is all about. People come here to experience something that many of them have wanted to experience their whole lives, so it is nothing but entertainment, nothing but fun for them.
And we know that you have also male and female visitors around your site. And I wanted to ask you, is one gender more successful than the other in operating this heavy machinery?
That's kind of a loaded question, but yes, as a matter of fact, generally speaking, the women who operate here at Dig This do a smoother job and seem to get a great deal of satisfaction out of it, I guess, because they're kind of in a man's world when they're doing it. And sometimes the men tend to be a little presumptuous and say, oh, I can do this without listening, I guess you could say. But the women seem to pay attention, and they seem to really strive, you know, to step forward and do a great job.
So what's the most challenging or difficult activity that people really struggle with?
Well, there are a lot of activities here at Dig This that they can do depending on whether they're running a bulldozer or whether they're running an excavator. Both machines present quite a challenge, if you will. On the bulldozers, they push a mountain up a pretty good sized hill, and they go over that hill, and that seems to give people a great deal of satisfaction, although it is very difficult for someone who has never done it before to build that hill.
Thank you so much for this interview, sir. Thank you all for watching and focusing on Nevada with us. Be sure to catch us again next time in another interesting focus on another interesting location around the world. Until next time, let your free spirits be free and join us again.